What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another NFL Showdown breakdown, courtesy of Awesemo.com. This is the one we've been waiting for, the biggest Monday Night Football game possibly in years, and the highest point total of the season in the NFL. The Rams favored by 3 over the Chiefs in a game with a 63-point over-under. That is a lot of scoring, guys, so this is a game which is going to be one to watch out for. The game will be played in Los Angeles after Mexico City's field simply wasn't ready for these guys storming up and down the field. A lot of turf would have been flying there. Not the best for health of these important players. The studs in this game seem hard to avoid given the points at hand and the fact you have a bunch of guys who put up yards in bunches on both sides of the ball. With all these dudes available, you're going to have to make some tough choices in your lineup that you're not going to feel comfortable with. This Rams defense allows 5.2 yards per rush, so this is a prime bounce back spot for Kareem Hunt. Even though the Rams defend pass catching running backs well, a 24.5% drop in production according to Football Outsiders DVOA, this is going to be a competitive game where they're going to need Kareem Hunt to get something going. I like Hunt in competitive matchups, and everything that we know about this says it should be a competitive one until the end of the fourth quarter. I like Hunt a lot, but if I had to choose, I'd probably go with Todd Gurley out of the 2 stud running backs. We just saw what David Johnson did to this Chiefs defense, and Todd Gurley's 24 touches could gash them in a million different ways. When you combine that with the fact that Jared Goff is going to be able to move the ball, and there's just a decent chance of one of the wide receivers getting touchdown at the 1-yard line, Todd Gurley is going to have a pretty good shot at hitting value and exceeding it. Speaking of Jared Goff, he's put up some big games at home this year, and this Chiefs defense, with their porous secondary, is going to give him a lot of opportunities to put up points. The Chiefs are allowing for 289 yards per game, so a slight home boost for Goff, and he's right where you want him to be with that 300-yard bonus on DraftKings. Brandon Cooks is always a threat to win downfield, and even though the Chiefs have defended wide receiver ones pretty well according to Football Outsiders DVOA, it doesn't matter for a guy like Cooks. He's getting a ton of targets, 10 last week, and I think he's in a great spot to exceed value tonight. Because of Cooks' big games, Robert Woods will probably be a lower owned play, and in a matchup like this one, he could be a big asset as well. Cooks picked up a ton of targets with Cooper Kupp knocked out of the lineup last week, but that could change week to week given how Cooks and Woods have been pretty close for the most part throughout this year in terms of targets. Because of how fungible an offense can be, and what's likely to be lower ownership for Woods, possibly substantially lower, I think there's some value in Woods, even though I think Cooks is the better play. The guy who should get a lot of interest for salary savings is Josh Reynolds. He's taking over the role that Cooper Kupp's injury leaves behind, and with the Rams running a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, he would be the guy who benefits the most. Thing to remember though, Josh Reynolds is not Cooper Kupp. Josh Reynolds is not Brandon Cooks. Josh Reynolds is not Robert Woods. He is a fine play, but if people want to bank on him as though he is one of the elite guys on this offense, I don't think I would want to go there quite as much. That said, the opportunity in a game like this to put up a score is too high to ignore, and Josh Reynolds actually makes a pretty decent play as a potential captain pick. I would still limit my exposure because he's an unknown quantity to a certain extent, but he has shown some promise this year, and I don't mind putting him out there. Just don't bank on him like I think some people will. I also don't hate tight end Gerald Everett. If we're playing the variance game, there's a decent chance he could put up a touchdown or 2 here, and then save you some money to help pay up for the better players. Gerald Everett, not a sexy play, but he is a guy who should be in consideration if you're doing a 20 max tournament or any max tournament at all. He's a guy worth having some exposure to in this match. Sammy Watkins is questionable for the Chiefs, and that's really key news to monitor. My dog keeps moving around in the background. She's clearly very enthusiastic about Sammy Watkins' prospects. If Watkins sits, Demarcus Robinson becomes a bit more playable and an interesting play given his price. He saw 4 targets last week, and if he got even slightly more in this matchup, he could actually convert that to a touchdown pretty easily. Chris Conley would also get a slight boost without Sammy Watkins, and I actually think he's playable whether Watkins is in or not. To me, Conley might actually be a better play with Watkins in the lineup just because there's a shot of him getting one of those BS touchdowns that he does from time to time. Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver, though, that I really want to talk about. He may have a monster day here, and I greatly prefer him to Travis Kelce. Kelce is always a strong play, and he definitely can be an asset in competitive games where he squeezes out the tough yardage and creates room for passes to come through. But this Rams team is weak enough versus speedy wide receivers that I'm much more afraid of missing out on a monster game from Tyreek Hill than I'm worried about missing out on a very steady and very competent performance from Travis Kelce. You have to draw a line in the sand somewhere in a game like this, and this is where I'm drawing one of mine. And last but not least, we have the 2 quarterbacks. And this is a tough one to parse out because I think both quarterbacks project for a fair amount of points, but so do the skill position guys. And I think you're going to have to make a really tough choice here to figure out how to approach that. I don't want to fade Patrick Mahomes as much as I don't want to play a defense going against him, but the price differential between him and Jared Jared Goff seems like a situation that would make me slightly favor Jared Goff. Jared Goff is just too underpriced on DraftKings compared to Patrick Mahomes. While I'll definitely have lineups with both quarterbacks, if you had to choose one, and it's a real tough Sophie's choice, Goff would be my guy. Given all we've talked about, it seems pretty obvious that playing a defense in this game might not be the smartest move, but it is a very contrarian one, and I don't mind you doing that. If I had to choose, I'd be more inclined to play the Rams given the surprise home game and some more impressive sack and pass deflection numbers. But do you want to play a leaky defense who's given up tons of yards to much worse teams when they're going against Patrick Mahomes? I sure don't. These are two bad red zone defenses, so I wouldn't have a ton of interest on the kickers on either side. These are two bad red zone defenses, so the kickers should be less viable with both teams very likely to punch it in whenever they want. Playing Greg Zuerlein, Harrison Butker, or both would be an indication that you think the offense is going to falter. In particular, the quarterbacks, the guys who would benefit the most from getting touchdowns. So I think if you are going to play a kicker, stack him with skill position guys who aren't quarterbacks. There are a ton of ways to go in this showdown game, so I hope this video is helpful for you. Make sure to hit that like button down below. Every like helps us out a lot. It's like tipping your bartender. It's just good service. Be a part of society. Throw that like in there. And also, make sure to sign up for a free week at Awesemo.com and drop this promo code in here. This is the biggest showdown slate of the year. The most fun game to watch, I'm sure, as well. So go check it out. Awesemo, the top DFS player in the world, is going to have his rankings up for the showdown slate, as well as ownership projections and rankings for the NFL slate coming up next weekend, the Thursday showdown, which I'll also be back to talk about. But Awesemo is going to have his picks for you, and we'll have a ton of premium content as well. Hey, you like the NBA? We got that too. Check this promo code right now. Oh, wait, my point? No, I messed up the pointing. Of all the games to mess up the pointing with, I do it for this one. But anyway, check that promo code, go to Awesemo.com, and hey, enjoy the game. This is going to be a fun one. We finally have a fun one. So hey, go football, go, and I hope you guys do well. So good luck. Check that promo code on Awesemo.com, and I will see you guys again soon with another Showdown Breakdown.